Welcome back to my channel, and today I'll be teaching you how I made this Halter neckline with a detachable sleeve. It's beginners friendly and it's easy for you to learn. So the detachable sleeve make it stylish and with a crunchy effect on it. So if it's what you're interested in learning, let's go straight to the tutorial. So we have a pattern draft tutorial on this channel, so check it. Is before this one. So I've gone ahead to cut and my lining and also my main fabric, and that's what I'm putting the center back, the side back. So I use doll face, and I also added wording for the lining. So doll face is actually what I use for the lining because I want some structure around the bust area, and the side back I didn't add anything, just cut together. And for the collar I added no interface or such on it, but feel free to add if you want to, but for this tutorial I will not be adding any. So the first thing I need to do is to sew my side front and my center front together, and that's me trying to arrange it here. So by sewing it together, I need to first of all notch the busts and the under bust. So I've notched that and I have to start sewing. So I'm starting from the lining. So I'm going to be starting from the part in which I notch, to making sure that there's some coherence when I'm sewing and it's aligned at the hem. So that's where I'm going to be starting. So if you're new as a beginner, you can actually start from the bust point and sew front and also sew back depending on how you want it, but I feel like for a beginner this method is going to be easy for you to sew from the bust down to the hem, and also from the bust straight to the armhole. So don't forget to notch, please notch very well because it makes it easy for you to turn. So right now I'm just going to be sewing all the fabrics together like so. So this is me turning the lining, and that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just going to sew the lining first, and I'm sewing from the bust point. That is what I'm doing for this particular method. And now I'm going to go back to the bust. From the bust point I'm going to sew to the hem, just like this, just the way you see me doing it. This way, if you're making a princess that, if you use this method, it's going to come out very well and it's going to align. So there will be no need for you to be adding 2 inches up then later trim it up. No, this is just the perfect sew from the bust point, and thank me later. And don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. So this is the collar. I'll go ahead and start sewing, but I'm going to be starting from the center, which is the midpoint. So I'm going to sew both sides, but I'm going to be sewing from the midpoint. And this is another method again if you want to sew your princess seam. I'm just going to start from the hem and straight up to the armhole, but this method works very well for pro. So if you know you're beginners, please stick to from the bust point down. It just works easy for you because at the end of the day you want to sew something that is easy, faster and stress-free. So me, I'm done with the ironing, the sewing, and now I'm just going to notch. Like I said, notch is very important when sewing areas that have curve, and the bust area has curve. So I'm going to notch it, and after notching it I'm just going to trim it a bit because it's going to be bulky if I continue. So I'm going to trim it to 2/8, and that's what I'm doing right now. So after trimming it, I'm going to now give it a very good press and add my stay. So for ironing, I'm using this particular tailor. I really don't know what it's called, but I just call it tailor ham. It's very efficient for me. So after sewing, I'm going to still take my stay and add to the seam line of my bust area because I really want it to stay really together. So I'm going to add my stay on this part, and I'm going to give it a very good press so they just align and stay together without anyone bulky up or moving. So I've done ahead to sew and iron it, and this is how it looks like. So the next thing I need to do is to pick the curve. So the curve that you could see at the hem, giving it a stylish feeling to it, and that is what I want to do right now. So by doing that, I will need to measure up. So this is the front and this is the back. So I'm just going to mark where my back is, and that is the point in which my back is. So I'm going to now come to the seam line and measure up. So in this case, you can use what you prefer. It's just for style, but I think I will be using 5 inches for it, and that is what I'm just going to mark there. Feel free to use 4 or 3 or 2. I'll prefer you just use 3 because it doesn't get too up to your tummy. Then you just give it a curve like the way you see me do. So the curve just comes the way you want it. You can actually curve it any way you want. So in this case, so you just curve it the way you want it like this, and that's what I'm doing. So for me to get the both sides to align, I have to fold the cloth like this and give a good notch. So when I notch it, I will know that that is where the back is going to be. So that is how I'm also going to be covering the other side of the cloth. So yeah, that's the notch. Then I am now going to connect the other curve to also meet that particular part in which I notch. Remember, it is up to you on how you want it, but I just feel like adding this particular spice to the halter neckline so I could rock it the way I like. So I've gone ahead to trim it off, and this is it. So attaching it to your cloth is going to be easy. So this is the lining. Remember, I have not curved the lining, but this is how it's looking. So this is how it's going to be looking at the end of the day. So what I'm going to do is to turn the right side facing the right side, and that's how I'm going to sew it before I will now trim off the excess from it. So if you trim the lining, it might be easy, but for beginners, like this is just beginners class, I feel like you should just allow it be. Then after sewing it on this line, following this curve, then you can now trim it off. You understand? And that's it. So I'm going to go to the machine and do that. And for the neckline, I'm also going to be attaching my collar to it. So I'm going to be attaching my collar to it, but before I will do that, I will close the side. I'm going to be closing the side, then trim off the excess, then I'll do that. So this is me getting ready to go and sew it. I've already pinned it round, so I'm just going to sew that line 1/2 inches. Then I'm also going to sew the collar 1/2 inches too, and that's going to just make it easy for me to trim off the excess from the lining. So that's what I'm just going to do now. I'm also going to be sewing the hem of the back seam and also attaching the neckline. So I've gone ahead to sew them like so. So it's time for me to now give it trim it off. Then after trim it off, I'm going to notch all the curves, and also I have done the back, so I'll just trim it off and notch, then give it a very good press. So I've done that, and I've also give it a good press. So I added pin around that area to just hold it stiff. For me, it's easy for me because I want to add the collar and also close the armhole. So I'm going to start from the midpoint to sew the collar like that. Please don't forget to subscribe, and also don't forget to like. So I have done that. I have done the armhole, and I've also sewn the collar. Please note, this is not as easy as it looks. So if you know you're going to be having issues around the armhole, please use bias to turn it. Don't go through the stress if you can't do it, so your work still comes neatly and you don't get discouraged about it. There's always an easy way to sew. Now back to it. You see the way it's coming out is so looking neatly, and this is it. So I'm just going to go and fix the zip at the back and also shaping it. So I've gone ahead to fix the zip and also shaping the cloth. So this top is actually ready, but not ready till we fix the sleeve. So for the sleeve, we're going to be using this fabric, and I've gone ahead to cut it, and I've also sewn it, and this is, I put it in the midpoints. Yes, that is what I did. So next thing I'm going to be doing is bringing the strap that I'm going to be putting inside for crunchy. So I forgot to video the part when I was cutting it. So if you want to cut yours, please use up to like 40 inches by the length in which you want your sleeve. So for my, I'm using the strap. So the strap I'm going to be using is 10.5. This is my off shoulder bicep. This is where it's just going to sit, and that's the measurement. It's actually 9, but by sewing half inches by the side and also is making it 10.5. So measure yours and also know what you want to do. So, but I would advise that if you want to do your crunch, please let it be much. Your material should be much, because mine is not much, and that's why you're not seeing the crunchy effects. So I have done that, and this is how it looks like. You see, the effect is not much. So if you use up to 50 lengths, then the width is depend on the length in which you want it to be. You really like the effect to give you. So I'm going ahead now and attach the hook for the detachable, because I really won't be rocking it with the sleeve all the time. So that's why I incorporate a detachable method to it by adding hook, and I'm using skirt hook for this. So I just add it on that both side, and the top is actually ready with the detachable sleeve. If you find this tutorial helpful, please don't forget to like. Encourage me by like, comment, ask me questions, and I'm sure we're going to reply you. So this is me styling it with the sleeve, and this without the sleeve. Yes, I'm a model and I like my job. Thanks for watching. Till I see you in my next tutorial.